I've not kind of digested it all. So hopefully when we all go through it together, I'll understand it a bit more.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's quite relative. However, that's going to come in depth in further chapters, obviously.
Okay.
But I'm looking for something else for this shlok. Can anybody share their homework? Jai Shri. Gita Ben, Jyoti Didi, somebody.
Okay, I've unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I just I don't know whether I'm right or not, but what I see from what I understand from this chapter, or rather the verse, is that so much has been given, or whatever has been given to us, we accept it gladly. Everything is being, but at the same time, if we don't do anything like, to kind of give back, then it's basically what it means is the second verse in my follow verse. That means you are a thief. It literally, it shouldn't be a one way. You understand? એ રસ્તો એટલે બેસિકલી શું છે એક જ આપણે લઈ જ સામેથી દઈએ નહીં દઈએ નહીં બધું રાખવાનું જોઈએ. So that is not meant to be how a human being is supposed to behave, or rather us. I mean, it's a very simple form of explanation that I have actually.
Yeah. Well, no, it makes sense. Yes.
But not as what you expect. Yes.
No. It's the fundament is there. Basically, okay, as administrations of various processes of the universe, right? The Devatas provide us with the rain, the wind, crops, vegetation, minerals, fertile soil, etc., right? So we human beings are indebted to them for all that we receive from them.
Okay.
Oh my God, sorry. I beg your pardon. Somebody's... I think somebody needs to mute.
TV on chair, that's why.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I don't know whose it was, but yeah. Guys, please keep an eye on your systems and mute yourselves, because I am, sorry, distracted. I'm off the track. Okay, right. I was talking about the Devatas and the what they provide us with, right? And hang on. I think I need just bear with me. I need the shlok in front of me, right? Okay. Okay, so the Devatas perform their duty and expect us to perform our duty in the proper consciousness too. Since these celestial gods, the Devatas, are the servants of the Supreme Lord, they become pleased when someone performs a sacrifice for them. And in turn, as they assist such a soul by creating favorable material conditions. And it's said that when we strongly resolve to serving God, the universe begins to cooperate with us. However, if we begin looking upon the gifts of nature, not as a means of serving the Lord, but as objects of our own enjoyment, Sri Krishna on this shlok calls it as a thieving mentality. Currently, the universe, as we all know, is, the nature has improved vastly because all activity, well, almost all activity has ceased, and the air quality is better, the oceans, the rivers, everything is, we've seen through social media, what a difference is made in just this 2 months or so. Anyway, the question is, when often, we ask ourselves, I lead a virtuous life. I do not harm anyone, we think, nor do I steal anything. But I do not believe in worshipping God, nor do I believe in Him. Many people think like that. And the question is, am I doing anything wrong? And the question is answered in the above verse. Such persons may not be doing anything wrong in the eyes of humans, but they are thieves in the eyes of God. Let us say we walk into someone's house without recognizing the owner, right? We sit on the sofa, eat from their refrigerator, use their restroom, and we may claim that we are not doing anything wrong, but we will be considered thieves in the eyes of the law because the house does not belong to us. Similarly, the world that which we live in was made by God, and everything in it belongs to Him. If we utilize His creation for our pleasures without acknowledging His dominion over it, from the divine perspective, we are certainly committing that. This is, one way of looking at it, and it's quite common for people to believe, if they're following this path. The example of the famous king in the Indian history, Chandragupta Maurya, he had asked Chanakya Pandit, his guru, the famous Chanakya, according to the Vedic scriptures, what is the position of the king for his subjects? And the Chanakya Pandit replied, the king is the servant of the subjects and nothing else. His God-given duty is to help the citizens of his kingdom progress in their journey towards God realization. Whether one is a king, a business person, a farmer, or a worker, each of us has as an integral member of this huge universe, God's universe, is expected to do his duty as a service to the Supreme. And that's how, we look at it. Is that okay? Any questions on that? Okay, fine. We'll now move forward to Kena Upanishad. Just right, I'm just going to share this document with you. I think we were in the part 2 of Kena Upanishad, right? Okay. These are basically the direct transliterations of the, sorry. Sorry about that. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to do something here, and I'm working on two. Okay. Right. The second part of the Kena Upanishad. Having given the definition of the real self or Brahman, by which mortals are able to see, hear, feel, and think, the teacher was afraid that the disciple, after merely hearing him, might conclude that he knew it. So he said to him, "You have heard about it, but that is not enough. You must experience it. Mere intellectual recognition will not give you true knowledge, nor can it be taught to you. The teacher can also show the way to you, but you must find it for yourself." Knowledge means union between the subject and the object. To gain this union, one must practice. Theory cannot help us. As you know, we're discussing the Bhagwad Gita, and then the information that the the examples that we share with each other about how it applies in our lives or how we perceive it. That's what it's all about. Knowledge and how it can be, how you can share the examples. And there, the eye does not go, nor the speech. That is distinct, and it is also beyond the unknown. Now we are talking about the divine knowledge. We're talking about Kena Upanishad, the conversation. Therefore, it's necessary to remind the disciple that the knowledge based on sense perception or intellectual apprehension should not be confused with the supersensuous knowledge. Although the disciple had listened to the teacher with unquestioning mind and was intellectually convinced of the truth of his words, it was now necessary for him to prove by his own experience what he had heard. Guided by the teacher, he sought within himself through meditation the meaning of Brahman, and having gained a new vision, he approached the teacher once more. The disciple said, "I do not think I know it well, nor do I think that I do not know it. He among us who knows it truly knows." That's basically, I know. Also, what is meant by I know it not. So it's neither here nor there. That's what the disciple is saying. I know it and yet I don't know it. That's the phrase. This appears to be contradictory, but it is not. In the previous chapter, we learned that Brahman is distinct from the known and beyond the unknown. The disciple, realizing this, says, "So far as a mortal conception is concerned, I do not think I know, because I understand it is beyond the mind, beyond the speech, beyond the imagination. Yet, from the higher point of view, I cannot say that I do not know. We can define that is beyond conception, is greater than we know. It's like the universe. We can define the universe. We see the universe. How far do we see the universe? As far as our homes, our gardens, you know, the environment around us, and we say we know. And if somebody says, okay, you live on earth, but we do, yet we don't know because we haven't been to all parts of the earth. It's a bit like that. The word knowledge is used ordinarily to signify acquaintance with phenomenon only. But man must transcend this relative knowledge because he has to have a clear conception of God. One who wishes to attain soul consciousness must rise above the matter. In order to experience love, in order to experience God, in order to experience anything, we cannot merely talk about it in theory form. We have to experience it in order to say, yes, okay, this is love, this is pain, this is, you know, any emotions, or, you know, we can't just simply say we know it by acquiring the theoretical knowledge. The observation of material science being confined to the sense plane, it ignores what is beyond. Therefore, it must always be limited and subject to change. It discovered, you know, we've discovered atoms, then discovered electrons. When it was found, when we found one, then another one came, and we had to change the theories as we went along, discovering the different relative theories. Therefore, this is the kind of knowledge that can never lead to the ultimate knowledge of the infinite Brahman, the Supreme Being, because it is exclusive and not inclusive. Spiritual science is not merely a question of the mind and brain. It depends on the awakening of our latent higher consciousness within us. The text that we talk about, he who thinks he knows it, not knows it. He who thinks he knows it, knows it not. The true knowers think they never know because of its infinitude, while the ignorant think they know it. Basically, there's a perception by all the different kind of people on what they think is knowledge or what they think is God in this situation. The teacher confirms in this text the idea that Brahman is unthinkable because it's unconditioned. Therefore, he says, he who considers it beyond thought, beyond sense perception, beyond mind and speech, he alone has a true understanding of Brahman. I can give you a very, very good example. I just mentioned the avatars, you know, that the recent avatars that have come one after the other, although in different yugas. However, if we think about Brahman and we say, okay, he incarnated as a tortoise, a massive tortoise, you know. During that period, we think, okay, we know God because this is it. He is in the form of a tortoise. However, when the next avatar comes, it baffles us because we could never even imagine what that avatar was, right? So there's Matsya avatar. That's the avatar of fish, half fish. Then we have another avatar, the most one of the most prominent Dasa avatar, Narsingh avatar. Could anybody have ever imagined while studying the Upanishads that Brahman can be perceived as half lion, half man? No, because we've seen him in different avatars. Also, the avatar of Sri Ramachandra, that's completely different. Then we have avatar of Krishna. That is contradiction to Ram. See? So there is, it's unlimited, Brahman and his energies. We can't judge him. Those who judge a living being from his external form and sense faculties know him not. We're so used to making judgments on other people. We say, okay, this person is not good, this person is very good, this person is great, this person is not, etc. On what we see, what the eyes perceive. However, that is not applicable to judge the Almighty, because of his external form, and the sense faculties cannot really perceive him. His real self, the Almighty, his real self is that within by which he hears and speaks and sees. In the same way, he knows not. Brahman, who thinks he knows it by the name and form. The arrogant and the foolish men think he knows everything, but the true knower is humble. He says, how can I know thee, who art infinite and beyond mind and speech? In the last portion of the text, the teacher draws an impressive contrast between the attitude of the wise man who knows but thinks he does not know, and that of the ignorant who does not know him and yet he thinks he knows him. We have that in our society, don't we? See, the Upanishads, they apply even now, even to date. They're so useful for, knowledge in all aspects. Brahman is known when it is known in every stage of consciousness. Through such knowledge, one attains immortality. By attaining this self, man gains strength, and by self-knowledge, immortality is attained. We have learned from the previous text that Brahman is unknown to those whose knowledge is limited to sense experience, but he is not unknown to those whose purified intelligence perceives him as the basis of all states of consciousness and the essence of all the things. By this higher knowledge, a man attains immortality because he knows that although his body may decay and die, the subtle essence of his being remains untouched. Such one also acquires unlimited strength because he identifies himself with the ultimate source. Basically, as we're looking in the Bhagwad Gita, Arjun devoted himself to Sri Krishna after the second chapter in order to understand, because he was so confused. He had Brahman in front of him in one form, and yet he was completely perplexed. And this is what he's talking about. The strength which comes from one's own muscle and brain or from one's individual power must be limited and mortal, therefore cannot lift one beyond death. But through the strength which Atmagnan or self-knowledge gives us, immortality is reached. When knowledge is based on direct perception of the undying essence, one transcends all fear of death and becomes immortal. Okay, we're going to we're going to stop the Kena Upanishad at this stage because I've had feedback that it's important to understand it state by state. So we'll continue in the next part a bit later. Not a bit later, but in the next session. And then we'll complete the Kena Upanishad in the next session. Okay, has anybody got any questions on this, please? Any questions on Kena Upanishad so far, today's session?
No.
Okay, fine. Smita Bhabi, do you want to do the honors of the, what shall I say? Just one moment.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Can you hear me?
Can everybody hear?
Yep.
Okay. Right. One moment. I'm just sorry, beg your pardon. I have too much on my screen. Okay. Yeah. We can move forward. Yeah. Just
Stephen, did you hear me?
no.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. So can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody can hear you, I'm sure. If anybody can't, please just mention. Yeah, just unmute and mention and then mute yourselves. Okay. Let's start with text.
Ishtana Poganahi Bodeva Dasyayante Yagna Bhavitaha Taidratana Pradayebhyo Yo Bhugate Stena Eva Saha.
Okay. In charge of the various necessities of the life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, will supply all necessities to you. But he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. I think I went through that in the beginning when we were doing the homework about the administration of the devtas and all that. Yeah? Okay. Text 13, Shlok 13, please.
Yagna Sista Sinaha Santo Muchyante Sarva Kilbite
Punjate
Bhujante Te Twagama Papa Ye Pachanya Makarnat.
The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. In the Vedic tradition, food is cooked with consciousness that the meal is for the pleasure of gods. A portion of the food items is then put in a plate and a verbal or mental prayer is made for the Lord to come and eat it. After the offering, the food in the plate is considered prasad, which is the grace of God. All the food in the plate and the pots is then accepted as God's grace and eaten in the consciousness. Other religious traditions follow similar customs as well. Christianity has the sacrament of the Eucharist, where bread and wine are consecrated and then partaken. Sri Krishna states in this verse that eating prasad, food that is first offered as a sacrifice to God, releases one from the sin, while those who eat without offering the food commit sin. The question may arise whether we can offer non-vegetarian items to God and then accept the remnants as his prasad, right? Because we're talking about food. And verily, this question does come up. The answer to this question is the Veds prescribe a vegetarian diet for humans. Rekha? Yeah, bit is coming in. Which includes grains, pulses, beans, vegetables, fruits, dairy products, etc. Apart from the Vedic culture, many spiritually evolved souls in the history of all cultures around the world also rejected a non-vegetarian diet that makes the stomach a graveyard for animals. Even though many of them were born in meat-eating families, they also gravitated to a vegetarian lifestyle as they advanced on the path of spirituality. The quotations from some famous thinkers and personalities advocating vegetarianism is, for example, one from the Buddha, to avoid causing terror to living beings, let the disciple refrain from eating meat. The food of the wise is that which is consumed by the sadhus. It does not consist of meat. That is a quote from the Buddhist book and is by Buddha himself. There is a Roman Plutarch, an influential Greek philosopher and author. He writes in the essay on eating flesh, if you declare that you are naturally designed for such a diet, then first kill for yourself what you want to eat. Do it, however, only through your own resources, unaided by clever or cudgel of any kind of axe. As long as men massacre animals, they will kill each other. Indeed, he who sows the seeds of murder and pain cannot reap joy and love. This is by Pythagoras. So we see loads of such example. One of the famous ones, Italian Leonardo da Vinci. Truly, man is the king of beasts, for his brutality exceeds them. We live by the death of others. We are burial places, by eating meat. I have since an early age abjured the use of meat. That's Leonardo da Vinci. There's many others, Thomas Edison, Leo Tolstoy, George Bernard Shaw. There's loads of quotes that I have here from, Mahatma Gandhi, for example. I do feel that spiritual progress does demand at some stage that we should cease to kill our fellow creatures for the satisfaction of our bodily wants. That's Mahatma Gandhi. Anyway, in this verse, Sri Krishna goes further and says that even vegetation contains life. Okay? And if we eat it for our own sense enjoyment, we get bound in the karmic reaction of destroying life. The word used in this verse is Atma Karanat, meaning for one's individual pleasure. However, if we eat food as remnants of a yagna offered to God, we discussed the yagna, the word yagna in the previous session, what a yagna means and the definition of a yagna. Anyway, so the remnants of a yagna offered to God, then the consciousness changes. We look upon our body as the property of God, which has been put under our care for his service. And we partake of permitted food as his process is consecrated to the divine. Bharat Muni states, violence is caused unknowingly to living entities in the process of cooking by the use of the pestle, fire, grinding instruments, water pots, and the broom. Those who cook food for themselves become implicated in the sin, but the yagna nullifies the sinful reactions. Meaning, if we offer food to God as a sacrifice, as it's stated here, as a yagna, then we are free from sin. But we cannot offer non-vegetarian food. So we move on to the next text. Text 14, please.
Agnanadvanti bhutani parjana annasambhava yagnadavati parjanyo yagnaha karma samudrava karma brahmodvam viti brahma.
No, just stop there. I think that's text 15. So we at 14, yeah? Okay. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from the rains. Rains are produced by performance of yagna, sacrifice. So, on this, Lord Krishna is describing the cycle of nature. Rain begets grains. Grains are eaten and transformed into blood. From blood, semen is created. Semen is the seed from which human body is created. So human beings perform yagnas, and this propitiate the celestial gods, who then cause the rain, and so the cycle continues. It's a ever-growing cycle. Okay. The next shlok, karma.
Karma brahmodvama viti brahma akshara samudravam tasmat tasmat sarvagatama brahma nitya yagne pratishthitam.
Regulated activities are prescribed in the Veds, and the Veds are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in the acts of sacrifice. The Veds emanated from the breath of God. When we started these classes, we discussed the 4 Veds, the origin of the Veds, etc. And that's what I'm talking about. The Veds emanated from the breath of God. The 4 Veds, the Rig Veda, Yajur, Samved, Atharva Veda, all emanated from the breath of the Supreme Divine Personality. Excuse me. Sorry. Please mute yourselves. Oh my goodness. Excuse me. Okay. Okay. Please, I request you, please keep your speakers muted. It just creates a lot of distraction. I was talking about the 4 Veds, and they all came from the breath of the Supreme Divine Personality. In these eternal Veds, the duties of humans have been laid down by God Himself. These duties have been planned in such a way that through their performance, materially engrossed persons may gradually learn to control their desires and slowly elevate themselves from the mode of ignorance to the mode of passion, and from the mode of passion to the mode of goodness. This, we are talking about the three gunas, Rajas, Tamas, and Sattvic gunas. And this is what it's about. These duties are enjoined to be dedicated to him as a yajna. Hence, the duties consecrated as sacrifice to God verily becomes godly, of the nature of God, and none different from him. In this, Sri Krishna also, the Tantrasar states as yajna to be the supreme divine Lord himself. That's one of the other shastras. In the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Puran, Sri Krishna declares to Uddhav, O son of Vasudeva, I am Yagna. The Veds state that Yagna is indeed Lord Vishnu, Lord Sri Krishna himself. Reiterating the principle, Sri Krishna says in this verse that God is eternally present in the act of sacrifice. Merely by remembering him, merely by saying a prayer to him, he is present. And by offering everything that you partake to him becomes the form of him, and it elevates the consciousness. Oh, oh my God. Manisha Ben, please, can you mute yourself? Okay. Text 16.
एवं प्रवर्तितं चक्रं नानुवर्तयति यः अगायुरिन्द्रियारामो मोघमपार्थ स जीवति.
My dear Arjun, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice which is established by the Veds certainly leads a life full of sin. Living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such a person lives in vain. So, chakra or the cycle means an ordered series of events. The cycle from the grains to the rains have been described in the verse 3, chapter 3, verse 14, as we discussed. All members of this universal wheel of action perform their duties and contribute to its smooth rotation. Since we also partake of the fruits of this natural cycle, we too must be bounded in this duty in a chain. We humans are the only ones in this chain who have been bestowed with the ability to choose our actions by our own free will. We can thus either contribute to the harmony of the cycle or bring about discord in the smooth running of this cosmic mechanism. On this thought, what we are currently facing, however it's come about, we can see that human beings have not followed this cycle. We have abused nature beyond repair. However, nature, a part of the Almighty Supreme, has healed itself during these 2 weeks of the lockdown. 2 weeks, rather 2 months. When majority of the people of the human society accept their responsibility to live as integral parts of the universal system, when all of us believe that, material prosperity abounds and spiritual growth is also abound. Such periods become golden eras in the social, cultural history of humankind. while a major section of humankind begins to violate the universal system and rejects his responsibility as an integral part of the cosmic system, then material nature begins to punish and the peace and prosperity becomes scarce. That is what we are undergoing right now. Somebody's enjoying something. Please mute your mics, please. Thank you. I think I need to, excuse me.
Shreeti, I've sent her a message.
Huh?
I have sent her a message anyway.
You have? Okay. Yeah. But let me see if I can mute this.
Yeah,
because
if you can do it because I don't think she understands.
Okay. You see, I have to go through various okay. Right. I've muted everybody now. Please only unmute yourself when you have a question and when I ask you so we don't get any interruption. Okay, right. Can we move on to the next text, please? Oh, Smita Bhabi, you'll have to unmute yourself, yeah? Okay.
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yasatvatma thireva syadatma truptascha manavah atmanyeva cha santushta stasya karya navidyate.
But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of the self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Basically, only those who have given up desires for external objects can rejoice and be satisfied in the self. The root of bondage is our constant material desires. This should happen, that should happen, that should not happen. I want to control this. I want to do that. It's a constant cycle. Sri Krishna explains a little further ahead in this chapter that desire is the cause of all sins. Consequently, it must be renounced. As explained previously, it must be borne in mind that whenever Sri Krishna says we should give up desire, he refers to material desires and not to the aspirations of spiritual progress or the desire to realize goal. However, why do material desires arise in the first place? When we identify the self with the body, we identify with the yearnings of the body and the mind as the desires of the self. And these send us spinning into the realm of Maya. In this, Tulsidas Ji explains, when the soul separated itself from God, the material energy covered it in an illusion. By the virtue of that illusion, it began thinking of itself as the body, and ever since, in this forgetfulness of the self, it has been experiencing immense misery. Those those who are realized and illumined that the self is not material in nature, but divine, and hence they are imperishable. The perishable objects of the world can never fulfill the thirst of the imperishable soul, and therefore it is wrong to hanker after those sense objects. The self-illumined souls learn to unite their consciousness with God and experience His infinite bliss with them. The karma, the duties prescribed for the materially conditioned souls, are no longer applicable to such souls because they've already attained the goal of all such karmas. For example, as long as one is a college student, one is obliged to follow the rules of the university. But for one who has graduated and earned the degree, the rules now become irrelevant. That is, the rules of the college, because you're out of that institution and you've received the fruit for that action. For such liberated souls, it is said, Brahmavit Shruti Murdani. Those who have united themselves with God now walk on the head of the Veds. They have no need to follow the rules of any Dharma Shastras. The goal of the Veds is to help unite the soul with the God. Once the soul becomes God realized, the rules are inapplicable, which help the soul to reach the destination. The soul transcended their area of jurisdiction. For example, a Pandit unites a man and a woman in wedlock by performing the marriage ceremony. Once the ceremony is over, he says, "You are now husband and wife, and I am leaving." His task is over. If the wife says, "Panditji, the vows you made us take during the marriage ceremony are not being followed by my husband," the Pandit will reply, "That is not my area of expertise. My duty was to get both of you united in marriage, and the work is over." Similarly, the Veds are there to help unite the self with the Supreme Self. When God realization takes place, the task of the Veds is over. Such an enlightened soul is no longer obliged to perform in any Vedic duties. Chapter 3, verse 18. Naiva tasya kritena.
Sorry, yes. I have to mute myself.
Yeah.
Naivatasya kutenartho nakrutenaha kaschana na chasya sarva bhutesu kaschidatthavya pasraya.
A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. As we discussed in the earlier shlok, that Veds are inapplicable for such illumined souls. The self-realized personalities are situated on the platform, transcendental platform of the soul. Every activity is in the service of God for them. So the duties prescribed for worldly people at bodily level, in accordance with the Varna ashram. We discussed the 4 ashrams earlier in one of the classes, and now we're talking about the Varna ashram. Dharma no longer applied to them. The distinction between the needs to be made between the karma and the bhakti. Previously, Sri Krishna was talking about karma, that is the prescribed worldly duties, and saying that they must be done as an offering to God. This was necessary to purify the mind helping it rise above worldly contamination. But the self-realized souls have already reached absorption in God and developed purity of the mind. Therefore, they are directly engaged in bhakti, or pure spiritual activities such as meditation, worship, kirtan seva to the God, etc. And these kind of souls, they reject their worldly duties. If they do that, it's not considered a sin. They may continue to perform worldly duties if they wish, but they're not obliged to do them. This is stated in this shlok. Historically, we have seen saints have been of two kinds. Those like Praladji, Dhruv, Amrish Raja, Prithu Raja, and Vibhishan, who continued to discharge their worldly duties even after attaining the transcendental platform. These were the karma yogis. Externally, they were doing their duties with their body, whilst internally, in their minds, they were attached to the Almighty, the Lord. Those like Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Shivalbhacharya-ji, they are the ones who accepted the renounced order of life. Shri Mahaprabhuji, Shri Vallabhacharya-ji, at the end, towards the end of his life, and accepted the they were the karma sannyasis who are both internally and externally with both body, mind engaged only in the devotion to God. Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, both options exist for the self-realized soul. Now he states in the next verse, which of these he recommends to Arjuna. This is for Arjuna, applies to us as well. Okay. Yeah, Smita Bali. Shlok 20.
Tasmad saktah satatam karya karma samachara asakto yacharana karma paramapnokti purusaha.
Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. In this shlok, Sri Krishna strongly urged those who have not yet reached the transcendental platform to perform their prescribed duties, as he stated in the shlok 17 and 18. They are not those transcendentalists who have achieved those levels. They are not obliged to perform the prescribed duties. Okay, so what path is more suitable for Arjuna? Sri Krishna's recommendation for him is to be a karma yogi and not to take karma sannyas, as Arjuna was happy to retreat, as we know from chapter 2. Okay, Shlok 20.
Karmaneva hi sinsiti mastita janakadayah lokasangra hamevapi sampasya nakartu maharsi.
Kings such as Janak Raja attained perfection solely by the performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. And this is Janak Raja is, if anybody's aware, we're talking about in the Ramayana, Sitaji's father, King Janak. Janak Raja attained perfection through Karma Yoga. While discharging his kingly duties, Even after reaching the transcendental platform, he continued to do his worldly duties for the sole reason that it would set a good example for the world to follow. Many other saints did the same. Humanity is inspired by the ideals that they see in the lives of great people. Such leaders inspire society by their example and become shining beacons for the masses to follow. Leaders of society have a moral responsibility to set such examples for inspiring the rest of the population by their words, deeds, and character. When noble leaders are in the forefront, the rest of the society naturally gets uplifted in the morality, selflessness, and spiritual strength. But in times when there is a vacuum of principled leadership, the rest of the society has no standards to pursue and slumps into self-centeredness, moral bankruptcy, and spiritual lassitude. Hence, great personalities should always act as an exemplary manner to set the standards for the world. Currently, in our world, we have a great example of such a leader, and that is none other than the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. He has set a great example to the world through his words, deeds, and karma. Even though they themselves may have risen to the transcendental platform and may not need to perform prescribed Vedic duties, but by doing so, they inspire others to perform prescribed Vedic action. If the great leader of society becomes a karma sannyasi, like Narendra Modi ji, and renounces work, it sets a precedent for others to follow. The leaders may be at a transcendental platform and therefore eligible to renounce work and engage completely in spirituality. However, others in the society use their example as an excuse for escapees to escape and run away from their responsibilities. Such escapists, Nimbakacharya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji, following their footsteps, the impostors also renounce worldly duties and take sannyas, even though they have not attained the purity of the mind that is required for it. In India, we find thousands of such sadhus. I think also in the Western world, we find thousands of such people. They copy the examples of great sannyasis and don't pretend to be somebody they're not, without the internal enlightenment and bliss. Though externally renounced, the nature forces them to seek happiness, and devoid of the divine bliss of God, they begin indulging in lowly pleasures of intoxication. They even slip below the level of people in household life, as stated in the verse in Ramayana by Tulsidas ji. One who renounces worldly duties without the concurrent internal enlightenment with divine knowledge, they tread the quick path to hell. It's completely clear. Okay, we move on to Shlok 22.
21. 21, isn't
Oh.
it?
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Yajyadacharati sreshtastat devetaro sa yat pramanama kurute lokastadanavartate.
Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. As we talked about the examples in the previous verse, it's pretty relevant to this verse as well, to this shlok. And in this current yuga, Narendra Modi ji is a perfect example. And I'm sure everyone here in this group is aware of his actions and his duty towards mankind. And some of the actions that he does are completely of a karma sannyasi. He doesn't look at his personal, he doesn't fulfill his personal attachments to any of his family or anything else, nothing for him personally. However, he provides for the rest of the country in a way that he would provide for his own family. That's a karma yogi. Okay, Shlok 22.
Name parthasti kartavyam trisu lokesu kinchana nana vaptavyam varta eva chakarmani.
O son of Parth, Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the 3 planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, Krishna, is talking about his own duties. The reason why we all work is because we need something. We are all tiny parts of God, who is an ocean of bliss, and hence we all seek bliss. We have not attained perfect bliss as yet. We feel dissatisfied, we feel incomplete. So whatever we do is for the sake of attaining bliss. However, bliss is one of God's energies, and He alone possesses it to the infinite extent. Satchit Anand, that's how He is referred as. He is perfect and complete in Himself and has no need of anything outside of Himself. Yet He is also called Atmaram, one who rejoices in the self. Atmarati, one who is attracted to his or her own self. And Atmakrida, one who performs divine pastimes with his or his own self. If such a personality does work, there can only be one reason for it. It will not be for oneself. However, it is only for the welfare of others. Sri Krishna tells Arjuna that although in his personal form as Sri Krishna, he has no duty to perform in the universe, yet he works for the welfare of all others. And he explains the welfare that is accomplished when he works in the following shlok, 23.
यदि रहम न वर्तयाम चातुकर्माण्यतन्द्रिता मम वर्तमानो वर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः.
For if I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Parth, certainly all men would follow my path. This is a superb example for him to be part of this era of the Mahabharata, and yet playing the role he is subject to a lot of criticism. But if we observe his actions, then we can see He is there for the welfare of mankind. In his divine pastimes on the earth, Sri Krishna was playing the role of a king and a great leader. He appeared in the material world as the son of King Vasudeva from the Vrishni dynasty, the foremost of the righteous. If Lord Krishna did not perform prescribed Vedic activities, then so many lesser personalities would follow in his footsteps, thinking that violating those prescribed duties was a standard practice. Lord Sri Krishna states that he would be at fault for leading mankind astray if he did not follow the prescribed duties himself. Shlok 24.
Utside yurime loka na kurya karma chedaham sanrasya chakarta shyamupya nyami mahapraja.
If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruins. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. When Sri Krishna appeared on earth, seemingly as a human being, he conducted himself in all ways and manners appropriate for his position in the society. As a member of the royal warrior class, if he acted indifferent to other human beings, they would begin to imitate him, thinking that they must copy the conduct of a worthy son of a righteous king Vasudeva. Had Sri Krishna failed to perform Vedic duties, human beings following his example would be led away from the discipline of karma into a state of chaos. This would have been a very serious offense, and Lord Sri Krishna would be considered at fault. He explains to Arjun that if he did not fulfill his occupational duties, it would cause a pandemonium in the society. Arjun was world famous for being undefeated in battle and was the brother of the virtuous King Yudhishthir. If Arjun refused to fulfill his duties to protect Dharma, then many others, worthy and noble warriors, would follow his example and also renounce the prescribed duties of protecting righteousness, which would bring destruction to the world balance and rout the innocent and virtuous people. So for the benefit of the entire human race and the welfare of the world, Sri Krishna asked Arjun not to neglect performing his prescribed Vedic activities. Shlok 25.
Saktaha karmanya vidvanso yata kurvanti bharata kuryadidvastata sakta stilu kirsho loka sangraham.
As the ignorant perform their duties with the attachment to the results, the learned may similarly act, but without the attachment for the sake of leading people on the right path. On this, Sri Krishna had used in the verse 20, had used the expression Loka Sangraham Evapi Sampashyam, meaning with a view to the welfare of the masses. In this verse, the expression means wishing the welfare of the world. And in the other ones, with a view to the welfare of the masses. There is a difference. Thus, Sri Krishna again emphasizes that the wise should always act for the benefit of the humankind. In this expression, Shakta avidvanshana, has been used for the people who are as yet in the bodily consciousness and attached to worldly pleasures, but who have full faith in the Vedic rituals sanctioned by the scriptures. They are called ignorant because though they have the knowledge of the scriptures, they do not comprehend the final goal of God realization. Such ignorant people perform their duty scrupulously according to the ordinance of the scriptures without indolence or doubt. They have firm faith that the performance of Vedic duties and rituals will bring the material rewards that they desire. If the faith of such people in rituals is broken, without having developed faith in the higher principles of devotion, they will have nowhere to go. So the Srimad Bhagavatam states, Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata mat katha shravanado ya shraddha yanvan na jayate. In the chapter 11, verse 20.9 in the Srimad Bhagavad. One should continue to perform karma as long as one has not developed renunciation from the sense objects and attachment to God. Therefore, Sri Krishna urges Arjuna that just as ignorant people faithfully perform ritualistic duties, so also the wise should perform their works dutifully, not for material rewards, but for setting an ideal to the rest of the society. This particular situation in which Arjuna finds himself in the Dharma Yudh, which is the war of righteousness, for the welfare of the society, Arjuna should perform his duty as a warrior. And that is the it's not even a request, it's an order given to Arjuna by Sri Krishna in this shloka. So we're going to stop here on this shloka, and as for homework on this, the karma yoga that is described, the different karma yogas described in this Bhagwad Gita, whatever we've read so far in chapter 3. I'd like you to think about the different karma yogas and think of an example either in history or in the society at this current stage. And we can discuss that in our next session. And I'm going to take on the questions. Anybody, any questions, please? I'm going to unmute you all. And, oops, somebody's having a siesta. Well, okay. Well, okay.
Shreeti, you know, you said desires are desires are the cause of all the sins. Yeah. Can we sort of talk about it a little bit more?
Okay, right. I'm just going to first mute all, and then Gita, unmute yourself because somebody's having a nice
snooze. Yeah. It's okay.
Okay.
Let them.
That's okay. No.
It's not our.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Unmute yourself. Okay.
I'm unmuted. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what do you want to discuss?
We say desires. You know, what sort of desires are we talking? Because desires can be for material things. Yeah. And the desires can be also spiritual aspect of it. So I know here we say desires are all cause of sins. Yeah, but I just sort of fail to understand how, because desires, we can have desires without attachment. Can that be a sin?
Okay.
Yeah, so just
Krishna mentions in this shlok that all desires towards spiritual aspirations, all desires towards spiritual aspirations, right?
Yeah.
They are free of sin, without a doubt.
Okay, give us one example, just to understand.
Yeah. Okay. For example, if I'll just use myself right now from the top of my head. For example, I have this desire that I want to practice mantras and shloks and take Bhagwad Nam constantly so that I can achieve, my spiritual goal. And I want to do that via reading the Dharma Shastras all day long, or, learn more kirtans, learn more, gain more knowledge, etc. And I believe that the Bhagwad Nam resonates, on a daily basis. So now this is a desire, okay? However, it's a desire. What is the material factor here? Material factor is the application that I would use. Okay, for example, I would use the TV for playing the bhajans. I would use, any other medium, the videos, to see some, to hear some, or to see some kirtans, etc. I would, read books to gain some knowledge on that. These are physical factors. Yeah, these are the instruments. My senses are all absorbed in this. Do you see what I mean? My eyes, my ears, my speech, everything is absorbed in this. However, my goal in here, the instrument, the senses, the bodily senses, they're engaged with these instruments, but the aim and the objective is Sri Krishna. Do you see what I mean? It is material. This book, Bhagwad Gita, is holy, right? But it's still material. Example, okay? I would use aircraft. I would use the flight. I want to go on a yatra, okay? I use the material object to get to the destination. I want to go to Vraj for Vraj Yatra. Okay, I'm going to use the flight. I'm going to indulge in staying in a comfortable place, or a place where I feel my senses can operate on a normal level. So I'm going to use the hotels or dharmashalas or whatever. But my objective there is the land of Sri Krishna, and my that will be also the earthly object to fulfill that desire. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That is exempt from, because the objective is the main thing. Yeah, the thought process, the instruments, everything is a medium, but the final destination, the main objective is Krishna. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you want another example, if you want an example that's opposite to that, okay, we can use the same example. You indulge your senses using material objects. For example, I would be watching you know, absurd movies on my videos. I would be listening to rubbish, yeah, through the medias. I would be reading some filthy subjects or totally, you know, irrelevant matter. I would be using the material vehicles to go to destinations that are probably not even allowed in the according to dharma or karma, right? And if I went to this particular hotels or whatever, I'm going there to indulge myself in whatever activities for my self
being.
Yeah, yeah. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, yeah.
He's using the same instruments, yet the
Yeah.
object.
What's the goal?
That's it. So one is free from sin, the other one is full of sin.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
That's all.
Thanks.
Right. Anybody else? Any other questions on this, whatever we've taken so far? Everybody okay, happy? Wonderful.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to, today in particular, you know, last time because of time and other factors, we didn't do the pratna for those who are currently facing the wrath of the COVID-19. And I would actually take in all those people who are unwell and need help at this time. We're going to say this pratna for them and then wrap up our session with our final pratna. So I'm going to share the screen for the final pratna, but we're going to start with Om Achyutay Namah. I'm sure everybody's aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's all, you know, pray for the souls in this world. Take a sankalp that our pratna, you know, is directed for the aid of all those in need right now in this world, in this universe. Om Achyutaya
Namaha.
Anantaya Namaha. Shri
Govindaya Namaha.
Om
Achyutaya Namaha. Anantaya Namaha. Shri Govindaya Namaha. Om Achyutaya Namaha. Anantaya Namaha.
Shri Govindaya Namaha. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna. And
Jai
thank you.
Shri
Jai Shri Krishna.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. And we meet again next Friday, same time. Is that okay, everybody?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. And whoever was enjoying the siesta, please have a good night's sleep.